Okay, just setting up a few things and then we can get started. Okay, I have extra kids today because it is a long weekend, or spring break, I should say. Anyways, just a little bit about this live video. We are here to learn about the Vinci Eye App, which is a tracing app for traditional artists. If you don't have the app and you would like to try the app for free for a year, you can use my promo code for iOS, which is charity all caps. If you have an Android, I need to give you a personalized one-time only promo code for that, so you can message me through Facebook, either through the Facebook page, Vinci Eye Apps group, or through my personal page. Well, not page for Facebook, it's a group. My personal page is charitylowsart, and you can message me there and I will give you the app for free for a year. Yeah. So I'm just going to go through some things that I like about the app. Oh wait, one more thing. If you want to draw along with me, the reference photo is posted in the Facebook group, my personal page, and also in the iOS version under my profile, which is charitylowsart, all one word, no gaps, and all lowercase in my inspiration section. So yeah, just so you know. Okay, so first thing, I'm actually going to show you. I can leave and go back to the drawing I want to do, and because I have the anchor, it stays in place and allows me to continue on where I've left off. I could do this with a span of many days, which this is technically day 5, but it's like 5 weeks, a little more than that because I had a couple of them off. So you can trace on any surface. It's not just canvas and paper you can trace on. You can move the image to wherever you want it to go. You can make it really small, very large. It's up to you. Oh. All right. And then I'm just doing the reverse button so that, oh, where did it go? The reverse button so that it gets lined up again. There we go, all lined up again. This was just to show you that what you can do with it. I like to use the breakdown mode. And I'll break down the image by color value. I like to do 5 steps: exposure, middle, cutout off. So you can do layers. If you have the cutout on, it will just give you one section at a time. So you just shade in the areas that you see, which will give you this bottom part here. That's what it'll look like when you're done doing that section. And then once you're done that, what I like to do, which is what we're doing right now, is I like to go to strobe, turn up the opacity all the way. And this will allow you to see your drawing and reference photo at the same time, making it turn into spot the difference, and you change the difference to match the reference photo as best as you can. But again, this is your artwork. You get to choose how detailed you want to go. A piece is never done until you say it's done. So I forgot to show you. So I go into strobe, turn that on, change the opacity to the fullest, and then you can see the differences there. Sorry, camera was at the wrong angle. Okay, now we're gonna go back into where we were at before, which I think was about, let me just take a look. Okay, there we go. I think we were about there. It doesn't have to be perfect. Maybe a little less than that. You can go and zoom in as much as you want to get those fine details. You can zoom out, zoom in. It's up to you. You get to choose, but this is how I do it. And you can follow along to what I do to learn how to do photorealistic art. So first we're going to go through the materials that I'm using. This is Bristol board and let me see. Now I can't think of an 8 by 10. I'm pretty sure inches. I like to use a smooth surface for easier blending. And then the pencils we're using, or at least I'm using, is an H2 HB 4B matte, 14B matte, and 16B matte, which I just got these pencils not that long ago. I was using an HB, 4H, HB, 4B, and 8B, but it all depends on what art set you have. And if you want me to get into detail on how I choose my pencils, let me know. Hi, Raven. Oh, welcome back. My #1 fan. If you aren't using like a really dark graphite pencil, you can use a black watercolor pencil for the dark areas, or anything else like a colored pencil, charcoal. You choose. I have a mono eraser, which is a mechanical eraser. It's super thin, great for small details. And then I have an electric eraser, which really brings up those small lines. It just brings up the pencil marks a lot easier. I'm using a mechanical pencil. This one I just had laying around the house. Hopefully I get a new one here soon. But this is great for hairs, some fine lines. And then I have 2 blending stumps, one larger one smaller one, and then we also are going to use a little bit of toilet paper or tissue paper. Just don't blend with your hands because it's going to leave some oily marks that would make the graphite pencil a lot harder to erase. And then a knead eraser. This is great to do softer erasing that doesn't have sharp edges. Other tools you may want to use is an empty pen. And this is to help preserve white areas. So if it's a thick paper, it only works on thick paper. You press really hard on the paper, you color over it, and then the indents don't turn that color. I am working on your pretty baby girl. Aww. I'm glad you're drawing along with me. Okay, I think that's it. A pencil sharpener, and that's about it for materials. So let's get to drawing. So I'm just going to start with like the HB pencil because it's a medium. This will just let me create those shapes that I see, the lines, and we can add more depth to it later. I just want to get those little details without being too light or too dark. Just right in the middle. we're trying to do the shading and the sculpting. I don't know if that made any sense. I just looked for those little minor differences within the color values. So lighter pressure for lighter areas, harder pressure for the darker areas. And I'm also just tracing around those polka dots so that it can guide me in keeping those areas lighter. They aren't quite white because it's in the shadows. Kind of mostly just working on the base, like the main part of the dress. This would actually been really pretty in color because nice bright pink. I'm going to take the tissue paper and I'm going to blend it out, kind of going with the creases of the dress. So it's up and down. And then I'm going to take some of that and put it on top of those circles that we preserved. Just put a little bit of that extra bit that's already on the tissue paper or toilet paper. I'm going to take the 2H and get some of those little shadows that I see on top of those circles, polka dots. I'm still kind of sculpting it out by doing an outline of the circle. And then we're going to take that tissue paper and blend it again. They are so cute. I know, the polka dots are adorable. And then I'm going to take my knead eraser and just pick it up around the edges of the polka dots. I feel like I can add a little bit more darkness to some parts of the dress. So I'm going to take the 14B. You can take the 4B if you want. And I'm just going to darken up those little lines there. I'm just adding a few more details to the background with the dark pencil as well. And then I'm going to take the smaller blending stump and I'm going to push that in, just following the shapes that I've made, not blending it outwards, just softening up the edges a bit. Okay, now we're working on the neck. So I'm gonna use the HB pencil and then get a little bit darker as I need. But we're going to get those lines. Soft pressure for lighter areas, harder pressure for the darker areas. Doing the earlobe, which there is a line. Lines are actually just illusions. It's just shadow and highlight touching, which creates the line. So when you're drawing lines, do like very small circular motions. Is it warming up there today? It is beautiful here, and sorry, it is very small writing. It is beautiful here, and after our class we are taking our dogs to Lake Michigan. It is actually quite nice today. It's been kind of off and on for the last few weeks. Like, it'll be nice and warm one day and then there'll be snow the next. So I'm just slowly building up the darkness of the areas, the shadows. I'm just doing some circular motions. When you're doing soft shading, like very smooth, you want to do very tight circles. But if you're doing textured surfaces, then you don't have to do such tight circles because it actually adds onto the texture. Okay, I'm going to take the tissue paper or toilet paper and blend it out. This one's a bigger blending, and I am spreading it around a little bit more than some of the other areas that I've done. But how odd is your little girl? Or you mean old? Oh, sorry, not odd. How old is your little girl? She is turning 2 in sorry. She is turning 2 in June. This picture, she wasn't even 1 yet. She was a half a year old. I'm just going to build up some more shadowing. I'm going to take the, is it 6B? 6B and 14B. So the 6B pencil and just get in those really dark areas. So I did mess up on the pencils that I'm using. I'm using a 2H, HB, 6B, and 14B. But I don't have a 16B. 14 is the darkest that I have. So if I blend it like you do, right after you draw it, will it give me a nice smooth skin like you get? I'm just thinking, processing. So there is a lot of things that you need to do to get nice and smooth. One is tight circles, soft pencils, and blending like quite a bit, pushing it around quite a bit. So just give me a second here. So here are the tight circles. Actually, I think I'll use here are the tight circles. I'm using the 14B to show you. Nice tight circles. And then I'm just going to do lighter circles, kind of work my way out. And this is how I kind of work too, is I add another section to it that's a little bit lighter that kind of blends in the two sections together. So if there's a light area and then a dark area, I do like a medium in between. And then you blend it. When blending skin, I usually go to the light then to the dark when blending so that the light is more preserved, but that's fine. Oh, what's going on? I thought I chose a smooth surface, smooth drawing surface, so like a smooth paper, tight circles, and soft pencil, which are the H and the B pencils, sorry. The B pencils. I'm having a terrible time with words today. And then also, if you want to do highlights that are still kind of blended, you'd use the knead eraser. And you just kind of tap it and pick it up around. And then if you want it lighter, then you kind of drag it a little bit. And I just do one section at a time, so I try to blend it into what I've already done so that it doesn't look like there are a bunch of little tiny pictures that happen to go together, but they don't quite go together if you don't get that obvious line between the two. So Okay, I'm going to take a 6B pencil because there's still quite a bit of shadow underneath her neck where the crease is. So just tight, circular motions. I think that the drawing I am doing is finally darker. LOL. I used some new soft pencils. Yeah, the soft pencils really do help. But also it is a struggle to get over the fear of putting dark stuff on your drawings, but it is something that really does make a huge difference to the realistic portraits. Okay, I'm just doing some lighter pressure on this area, on the neck, still tight circular motions. Just trying to find those little very fine differences that I see on the TV, because I am streaming to my TV. I use Chromecaster for that, but you can look at your phone if you want. It's just a little bit hard when you get it past the standard printer paper size. I'm using the toilet paper for when I get to the lines, I go with the lines, and then when I'm doing the bigger areas, I blend outward. I see there's a little difference on the earlobe, so I'm going to take that small blending stump and add a little bit of shadow at the tip of the earlobe. And then also, I know I just did that, but that was just like for a bigger area where the earlobe is, right where the piercing would be if they had piercings. And then just an outline of white using the mono eraser. And then I'm also going to do the same for the jawline. Just sculpting that out using a little bit of pressure, just picking it up ever so slightly to help sculpt that. I think we already did the background the other day. I think I might add a few little hairs. So I'm going to take my my mechanical pencil and just putting a few little strays. You don't have to copy any of this. You just ever so just a little bit random. So have them curve out, curve in. If you can see them on the reference photo, you can trace, but you'll get used to doing it by yourself the more you do it. Okay, now we're sculpting the cheek. I'm going to take the HB pencil first. And these are very soft shadows. You go dark, like there's a larger, darker area. And then it just slowly softens up, gets lighter as you go out. So tight circular motions, just so that you can get a nice smooth blending when you're done. There's a little bit of a crease right here, so I'm going to do soft circular motions, light pressure just to get that crease, which is where the edge of the mouth is. And then I'm going to actually take the H2 pencil because I want it to be more gray than white on the other sections. There's a little triangle of light, which is usually on every portrait. So let's keep that white. So light circular motions, very tight circular motions, and just filling in that the shadows. If you guys have any questions while while we're drawing, I will answer them as soon as I see them. It's more than welcome for questions at any time. And then there's the shadow where the chin is. I'm going to do some tight circular motions, kind of following that very soft line that sculpts out the chin. And I'm going to go back to the HB pencil and add some shadow to add some darker shadow under that chin. I think I might have put a little bit too dark on there, but that's okay. We can take the knead eraser and just press it in and pull it up. Because it was looking like a beard for a second there. But that's okay. Let's blend to see where we're at, and then we can add more or take away whatever as we need it. But so large circular motions pressing into areas that we've already done and where we're going to do, because we want it to be nice and cohesive throughout. There is some more darker areas, so I'm going to go back with the HB pencil. It's the bottom part of the cheek right next to the chin that I want to add more to. So I'm going to do some tight circular motions just to build that up. And then it's darker on the top part of that cheek too, on the side. I'm going to add a little bit more there as well. Chin's going to be a little bit difficult to work with, but you know what? I make up things as I go too. Just keep playing with it until I'm satisfied with it. So just blending that out, seeing where we're at. I think I might not play too much with the chin right now. When we move on to the next step, which is really soon, then I can work on that chin a little bit more. So I'm going to add that little bit of shadow that's underneath the jawline. So I'm going to take the 14B. And it's just a very small section that I see. But I'm going to first draw that line to help sculpt it the right shape, and then add some small circular motions downwards, not upwards, because we want to have that shape. Then taking the small blending stump, you want to blend in the direction of the line, maybe pulling out ever so slightly just to soften it up a bit. Okay, now we can move on to the lips and part of the chin and part of the nose. We already did most of the nose already, but that's okay. I actually want to do the darker areas first, around especially the mouth. So I'm going to take the 14B and just sculpt out those really, really dark areas. See how dark this is? This is matte, so it doesn't even shine when you put it on. It's awesome. And there's a little bit of a dark area on the side of the bottom part of the cheek and the top part of the chin. So I'm drawing that line, and I think I'll keep it as a line because the line I drew is thick enough. I'm going to go with the HB pencil, and I'm going to do the rest of the shaping of the lips. So there's a darker outline of the bottom lip. So I'm going to do that first. So I'm doing kind of like sketchy back and forth strokes because it's a very fine, but it is also not like, I can't think of the word. What's the word? It's not super sharp. I just want it to be a little soft. And then I'm going to add some of the darker shadows with not as much pressure as I was using for the outline. And there's a little bit of a shadow on the upper lip. She doesn't really have much of an upper lip. And then a shadow underneath the bottom lip on the left. So doing soft pressure and tight circular motions. And I'm going to work on the shadowing of her tongue. It is rounded shadows. So there's a rounded dark shadow on the inside, and then it's lighter on the tip of the tongue. Now I want to just call it coloring in for the rest of this lip here, because I'm trying to get a large surface. Still very tight circular motions. We're also trying to preserve the highlights a little bit, but we are going to use an eraser later for those highlights. Let me see if I can find some more shadows. I'm going to take the 2H for the very light shadows, which is the laugh line, which is very, very soft. A very, very soft shadow. And then there is that little dip on the top of your lip, right above the Cupid's bow. And then there is a bit of a shadow on the other side of the mouth where the laugh line is. So just lightly, very lightly adding some shadows there. And then there is a shadow on the inner corner of the mouth, kind of like a triangular shape with a little bit of a darker area in this very corner there. And I think that's about it for adding some shading. So we're gonna, for the top, just above the lip and then the laugh lines, I'm going to take this, or the smile lines, I'm going to take the toilet paper and doing circular motions and pushing it out a little bit. And then even that shadow that's just below the lip too, I'm doing that as well. And then I'm going to take the small blending stump and I'm going to blend in those the smaller details, going in the direction of the lines. And then also for the bottom lip, I kind of want to create some texture. So I'm going to take what's already on the blending stump and I'm going to do some curves upwards and downwards to just create a little bit of texture on the lips. That's all. And then I'm going to take the Mono eraser and I'm just going to add a little bit of, they're almost dots, some highlights. And then I see a highlight line on the right part of the lip, following the outline of the lip. And then I also see a bit of a highlight on the top lip, on the left side of the lip. I'm going to do that as well. Where did I put, oh, there it is. My horsehair brush. There's a lot of extra stuff on there right now. Okay. I think the tongue on the tip is a little bit too dark, so I'm going to make a really small piece and just dab it. I'm going to take the HB pencil and now we're going to sculpt out the cheek and part of the chin. So first I'm going to do the outline around that. I'm just taking my time to make sure I get it nice and perfectly aligned to the reference photo. And then also that top part right underneath the eye, I'm working on that too, because I can see that. And then we are going to use some shadowing and highlights for sculpting the roundness of her cheek. I'm going to take the 2H pencil for that. I'm going to sculpt that lip a little bit more, the upper part, adding a little bit more shadow than I had before. And then little triangular shape on the one side of the mouth that goes down, curves downwards and curves upwards. So we'll just add that. Still feel like I need to sculpt that top part of the lip. Still working on that a little bit. And then just tracing that chin, the curve of the chin, and adding some shadows on the left side of that chin. And there's kind of like an hourglass shadow that goes down and up around the chin at the bottom of the mouth, and then another one that goes down and up the other direction. And then you just fill that in with a very, very little bit of shadowing. Just a very little bit. Little bit of pressure. It's very subtle. I'm going to soften up the smile lines just a bit. And then we're going to take the toilet paper and we're going to blend that all. Just circular motions to blend. And then I'm going to see if we have any highlights. I see some sharp edges that I want to get rid of, so that's why I'm still blending. Okay, let's see if we can find some highlights. Okay, so there's a highlight that's following the curve of the face. So we're just going to add it just above that line that we did earlier, using the mono eraser. Okay, taking the HB pencil now, and we're going to work on the other side of the shirt or the dress. We're just going to add some, it's quite dark compared to what it is on the drawing right now, so we're going to add more to it to match as best as we can. And then just trying to create those shapes that we see. There's not a lot going on here because we're not seeing the whole picture, but you want to try to mimic the reference photo as best as possible. And then I did the darker areas. Now I'm going to go over it pretty much the whole thing except for a few little things. Okay, it went weird earlier just now. I'm sorry. I stopped as soon as I found out or figured out that something was going on. I'm going to take the toilet paper and I'm going to blend it, trying to stay on the away from the face. Don't push into the face. And then make a small section on the knead eraser, nice tip. And just kind of drag it downwards. The last few days I've been doing some stupid stuff. Been wood burning without a mask on. Don't do that. And we're going to move on to the next section. So we're just finishing the shape of the cheek. It's a very fine line. And it's very faint. So I gotta take the 2H. No. Sorry for the yawn. Did you guys yawn too? Was it contagious? So yeah, that's the cheek. I don't think I really need to add any more to it for darkening it up. I'm gonna just kind of trace out those lines I see. This is very abstract looking right now, like just try to find those differences and correct them as you're going on. So just trust the process. If you are going, what is this? And you want it to look exactly like it's supposed to look right away, you're going to kind of drive yourself mad. So just do one section at a time and copying it as best as possible, changing those minor differences, making darker areas darker as needed, lighter areas lighter, fixing the shapes. I'm just really focusing on the darker areas. Okay. I could have used a darker pencil for that. Now I'm going to do some of the bigger shapes. I think I'll use the HB for this actually. And then, yeah, we're just working on the bigger shapes. Work on some of the softer edges. Oh, I feel like there's something in my eye. So it's darker on this side, so I'm putting a little bit more pressure, and then it goes lighter as I go outwards. Just trying to mimic the shapes. This is taking a while because there's a lot going on here. A whole lot of stuff going on. So looking for shapes, lines, and the intensity of the shadows. Okay, I think that's pretty good for now. We're going to take the tissue paper and we're going to blend. I'm not like putting a bunch of pressure like this. Let me see. I'm not putting a lot going all like this, but I'm trying to keep them in the general areas of the shadows. Just kind of working one section at a time. I'm going to take the mono eraser and I'm going to do those highlights, those lines that I see. I thought it was going to get easier when we get past the face, but it's not as easy as I thought it would be. I'm just sculpting in those polka dots, still using the mono eraser. This one, there's like a little circle here. I think it's also a polka dot, but it's in the shadow. So we're just lightly picking it up with the mono eraser. And then also a light highlight there and also right here. Just slightly picking those up. Not a lot of pressure. Do you know what I forgot to do again? I always forget to do it. You guys need to tell me when I forget to do the time-lapse video. Oh boy. Oh. Okay. The stretch. Oh, stretch. It is time for a quick break. I haven't had coffee yet and I am tired. So just give me a minute to make that and I'll come back. Okay. I am back. So I'm going to take my coffee, and this is a great time to ask questions. I am willing to show you anything that you need me to go through at this time as well. So I just also want to remind you guys, I am not the developer. I am not the person who came up with the idea. I am just an artist that happens to really love this app. Why is this being funny? Thought I turned off the director. Why is it going off? There we go. I don't wonder if there's anything new. Apparently there's some updates on the way especially for Android. I'm not 100% sure what those are yet, but yeah. How's the weather at where you're at? Because mine is bipolar. It is sunny one minute and raining and snowing the next. I had the great opportunity to go to NAMPTA with the developer, and it was the first time we've met. How we met was hilarious, I think. So there's like 8 elevators at this hotel. And I go down a couple floors, and in comes one of the other guys that works with us. And we were like, hey, and then he's just on his phone or something. And then we go down further, and then in comes the developer and his wife, and they see him first, and they're like, hey, and then I'm in the back. I was like, hey, and then they're like, it's Charity in the flesh, and they gave me a huge hug. And it shouldn't have happened because my boss and his wife, or like the developer and his wife, got off the wrong floor and entered a new elevator. So, yeah, NAMPTA is an international art trade show. So there was people like the Faber-Castell, Deco Art, Prismacolors, the paint marker thing. I can't remember the brand of that, and some other cool things there. It was great. It was a wonderful time. There was even diamond art. There was a bunch of stuff there. It was Bob Ross Incorporation. So yeah, I have been working for the developer for a while, a few years, but it wasn't until like a few weeks ago that we met in person. So it was unreal to me. So okay, nobody's talking. You need to talk to me. I guess I'll get back to drawing. Please talk to me even while I'm drawing. Makes the video more entertaining. Okay, so we're done this section. Let's go on to the next. Oh, and let me remember to record it, although I just missed a pretty decent sized section. Okay, I'm using the 6B pencil. And I'm going to get those really dark areas. Just get those really dark shapes there. I'm actually putting quite a bit of pressure with this because I want it really dark. I'm just doing the outlines of these shapes, and then I will use less pressure to shade in the rest. I am working on her little ear. It's so cute. I want to see all the drawings that you guys have done. Post them in the Facebook group. And then eventually I want to be able to have a setup so I can do a little slideshow while I go make myself some coffee for during the break. I have no experience in drawing, and I have no idea about shading. Can I still try this app? Can I still try this app, or should I take a few art lessons? I'll tell you how I learned how to draw. So I started at a very young age to trace. Like I used to take paper and put it on top of a screen of like my favorite cartoons, and I would trace them. And then I learned grid, and then I learned how to freehand. So it is good to know other skills when learning to draw. This app frees up time for you to do your technical skills. So how to use the pencil to your best ability, or if pencil's not your medium, it just frees up extra time to work on your technique and skills. But I use the tracing app now because I am a commissioned portrait artist, and it's hard to keep up with the commissions. It takes longer to do freehand by like tenfold, which means it costs more money. And especially now with how the economy is everywhere, people don't want to spend that kind of money. So tracing speeds that up and makes it more affordable. But it is really good to, like, you can use the app, but it's also good to learn other skills too, like how to see like an artist. But yeah, you can just go back and forth between the two. That would work too. And then when it comes to learning with tracing, if you really want to learn shapes and stuff, like how to see all the shapes and why you're seeing them, it's kind of like doing ab exercises but not engaging the ab. Like when you're doing exercises, you need to really focus on engaging the muscle that you're working on. Otherwise, it hardly does anything for you. So when you are tracing, you need to think about, why is there a shadow here? Why is there a highlight? And that way you can actually learn from tracing too. I do have a promo code for the app if that's the pathway that you want to take for tracing and learning how to draw with tracing. It is charity all caps for iOS, but if you have Android, I do have to give you a personal one-time code, which you can find me on my Facebook page, Charity Lows Art, or the Facebook group, and I will get you that code if you want to try it for free for a year. Just really trying to get those dark areas, lines, shapes. These are pretty smooth, so nice, a nice tight circle. Sorry, I was reading and then I forgot my thought. So you have Apple. So if you go download the app, so I'll show you what you can do here. Just give me a second. So when you download the app, you can go in here and then, let me see. There will be something in there where it says you can put in the code. I just can't find it right now because I never use it. Try settings. Well, it might just pop up while you're downloading it. But you just put in charity, all caps, and it should give you the app for free for a year. And then that gives you plenty of time to test it out and see if that is the way you want to, if that's the way you want to learn, if that works so well with you. I'm just realigning it to where I was at earlier so I can continue on. It was about here. Okay. Sorry, I'm very nitpicky. I'm a nitpicky person. I want to make this little, sorry for the burp. I'm going to make this little section darker. So I'm taking the 6B, putting quite a bit of pressure on there. And there's texture, so I'm just doing some small lines in the direction of the fur, because that's what this is. It's fur that we're doing. And I want to just do the dark areas, so it's going to be small strokes and trying to duplicate the shapes. So the bow is smooth, but the fur is textured. So for when you're working on the shadowing of the bow, do tight circular motions. But when you're doing the fur, build up the shapes with some lines that are going in the direction of the fur. And then taking the HB pencil, I'm just getting some of those lighter dark areas. I think this is the fur that I'm working on right now. It looks like it is, so I'm gonna do those lines that we were talking about earlier, those little tiny lines. Not going all the way across, just staying in those shapes. And then I'm gonna add some more depth to the bow, just making it slightly darker than it is right now, using circular motions, because again, it's a soft, smooth surface. And then, I just want to add a little bit more on the fur too, kind of everywhere but the really light areas. And just doing lines, not circular motions. And then blend larger circular motions for the bow. That's what I'm doing. And then some short blending following the fur. Still using the toilet paper. Okay, I see the word love, so I'm gonna use the 2H for now to write that out. Well, I only see VE at this point, so we're just doing VE. And also adding a few little details that I missed because I see them now, because I am a perfectionist. You don't have to be as insane as me. Drawing photorealistic artwork is a therapy lesson to me. It's just, well, a therapy session, not lesson, but yeah. I'm going to take the Mono eraser and just pick up those little highlights. Some of them are not as bright as others, so don't put as much pressure on them. And then just getting some of those details in the fur, picking up some of those highlights as well. Just the really light areas, that's all I'm working on, nothing else. Now we're moving on to the next section, which is the bear. The bear's face. Using 14B, I'm going to get those really dark areas, almost black if not black. And I'm just doing little dots for some of these. Some lines, some shapes, but looks like mostly dots. Just really working on all those really dark areas. And then we're going to build on that later. It will help make sense of some of these dots that we're making. Okay, I'm going to go in with a 6B and get those other not so dark areas using strokes that follow the direction of the fur. I'm just working on the shapes using that stroke. I'm not going all the way through. We're just working on those dark areas. So if you want to do more of a learning thing with this, keep your mind engaged. Ask yourself questions like why? Why is it doing this? Why is the texture like this? So for this, it'd be like, why is there dark shapes within the fur? So it'd be like for example, it is a under another layer of fur that causes the shadows. Just keep asking yourself some questions on why, and then you will learn how light works. You will learn how texture works. Okay, I'm almost ready to do a lighter layer now. So let me grab the HB pencil. Still doing just short strokes. But at this point, I'm doing everything that's not white. I'm just trying to find those little differences. We're playing spot the difference. That is what we're doing. Blendy, blend, blend, blend. That's what we're doing. And we're blending in the direction of the fur. We're not doing circular motions. So from what I am seeing, these really dark dots here are actually part of the smile. So we're going to just kind of make them into small lines. There we go. And then I'm going to take the mono eraser and I'm going to add some highlights that are on top, the top layer. These are just little strokes, little lines that are going in the direction of the fur. feel like I need to add a little bit more texture on this side here. So I'm going to take my blending stump and I'm going to add just ever so slightly some shadows. I don't need a lot, so that's why I'm using the blending stump. And then now we're working on a new row. So thought process on the order in which I do things. I look for what is most common in the area. So I do the shadows, like the basic shadows and highlights. Then I go and do the darker stuff that's more fine detail, and then the lighter stuff, which is usually on top of everything. And that's why I do it last. So it's like layering up stuff. I'm going to use the HB pencil, and I'm just going to work on the larger base of the shadows. And this doesn't have to be super tight texture, because like the bigger circles are actually going to add on to the texture of the fake fur. So we're just getting the bigger area. We're focusing on the bigger spots. Okay, so that's pretty dark, and then the rest is a little bit lighter. So I'm going to still use the same pencil, but lighter pressure for this part. And then we're going to take the tissue paper and we're going to blend it all out using big motions, blending it into the last piece, blending it downwards for the next, sideways. Look at it, see if it's dark enough for the base. If we need to add more, and I think we do. We need to add a little bit more. It's a little bit more in this corner, so I'm just going to add more shadows, and then some more right here. And blend that out too. Pushing it up into the last one, down for the next, sideways. And so it makes it more cohesive to one piece. We don't want any obvious lines between each section. Okay, these are fairly dark. They're not super dark, like black, but they are dark. I'm going to take the 6B pencil and we're going to work on the dark textures, the dark lines and shapes. I'm just going to trace what we can. There is a lot going on here. You can just, if you're confident in creating realistic texture that looks like fur, then you can just make it up You don't have to trace all the details. If you want to learn how to do the textures, tracing will help you with that. The more you do it, the more you understand how the shadows and highlights work with fur and shapes. There is a lot going on here. So just take your time. Listen to some beautiful music that you like, or just whatever. Just make it a relaxing experience. It's one thing I really like about my job is that I get to just chill. I don't have to worry about other people. This is a time I get to take away from everyday stress like kids. This is definitely going to take a lot longer than the other ones because I didn't realize how much detail is in here, because detail does take longer. Usually black and white portraits take me 10 hours to do at 11 by 14 inch. 11 by 14, that's what it was. I was having a hard time remembering what it was earlier. And if you guys are wondering, I am actually looking at my TV that is being streamed from my phone. So I can do large pieces like 18 by 24 inch with not a lot of strain on my neck or back while trying to look at the phone. Another cool thing though is like if you need to, you can tilt the image so that you can look at the phone in front of you, directly in front of you, and it still stay aligned. And it will make up for the angle while you're using the anchor because it's following the anchor. I think that's good enough for now. So we're gonna take a small blending stump and we're just gonna soften up those little lines we've made. Just blending in the direction of those lines. We're not pushing it outwards. We're not pushing it to the side. We're just following the lines, softening them up. Now I'm going to want to add some more texture on some of the areas, making them a little bit more darker. So I'm going to take the HB pencil and I'm just doing some more shadowing, some more texture using small strokes, going in the direction of the fur. And then we're going to blend that out. I'm going to use the toilet paper for this and just follow the direction of the fur. We're not really doing circular motions at this point. Okay, let's see if there's any highlights. There's not a lot of highlights. There's a little bit on the top. So I'm just going to grab those. And I think that's it for this section here. Moving on to the next part. Trying to analyze it to see what I want to do first. I think I'll do the fur background first. So I'm going to take the 14B and get those really dark sections. Well, no, I changed my mind. We're going to use a 6B pencil and we're going to do the general shading of these areas here. I'm kind of sculpting out the shape of the dress while I'm at it and the arm so that I know not to go over those areas. And then circular motions and a medium pressure, I would say, because it is pretty dark here, just for the fact that the sun's coming from the right, which is causing shadows on the left. Now, I think is a good time to say my passion is with portrait art, with pencil work, so graphite or colored pencil. But if you guys want me to show you how to do basics of any other medium or styles, like I can do a video like that. If you need me to answer questions about the app and how it works, ask me anytime. If you want me to draw different types of things, so like instead of people all the time, I can do animals or places. Whatever you want me to do, I am here to help you use this app to the fullest for your whatever projects you are doing. Like I've done fabric painting, I've done faux stained glass paintings recently, wood burning, some crafty stuff like making flower pencils. I can do paints, pastels. Quilling is going to be a new one on the list here soon because I'm going to learn how to quill. which is rolling up little thin pieces of paper, shaping them to whatever shape you want and gluing them on. I can do that too. I will be practicing a little bit of that on my own time. I was just adding a few little highlights, not a lot. Okay, now I'm going to sculpt more of the dress. Using the HB pencil for that. Just trying to get those creases, even those little stitching marks around the sleeve. So just do little tiny dots or little tiny lines to create some stitching. Tracing out the circles so we can kind of keep them preserved for lighter shadows or highlights. Really wish I could remember when to do time-lapse videos because I really want to show time-lapse videos on my TikTok. There's some darker lines, creases of the fabric that are softer on one side than the other. So I'm going to work on those. And I can see a polka dot, just a little tiny polka dot sticking through there. So I'm going to trace that as well. Trace the outline of that so that I can preserve it for some later stuff. I'm getting some of those really dark areas, putting a little bit more pressure with the pencil. For that, I might go over it with a darker pencil in a minute. So with fabric, there's always going to be a sharper side of the shadow and a softer side. So just be aware of that while you're creating that effect. And the line between the sleeve and her arm is kind of faint, so I'm not going to really worry about that. I'm still going to use the HB pencil, but lighter pressure for creating that shadow that I see. the darker area, or than it actually is. I can't think of words. It's time for lunch. So you can, this dress is see-through, so you can actually kind of see her arm behind